To understand how markets function, imagine we step into a lively open-air market early in the morning. Vendors are setting up their stalls, arranging produce, and deciding at what price to sell their goods. At first glance, it may seem chaotic. Voices calling out prices, buyers negotiating, and trucks arriving with fresh produce. But beneath this energy lies a set of predictable patterns that economists call supply. By observing the motivations of sellers in this marketplace, we can understand some of the most fundamental concepts in microeconomics. Supply refers to the various quantities of a good or service that producers are willing and able to offer for sale at different prices during a given time period. Consider a tomato farmer. At high prices, the farmer has a strong incentive to bring as many tomatoes as possible to market because selling tomatoes becomes more profitable. At very low prices, however, the farmer may bring fewer tomatoes or even choose not to sell at all because it may not cover the cost of production. Thus, supply represents producers' responses to market incentives. While supply refers to the entire relationship between price and quantity, quantity supplied is a single point on that relationship. It is the specific amount producers are willing to sell at one particular price. For example, if tomatoes sell for $3 per kilogram, the farmer might be willing to supply 100 kilograms. If the price rises to $5, the same farmer might supply 160 kilograms. These numbers, 100 kilograms and 160 kilograms, are not supply in general. They are quantities supplied at specific prices. The law of supply states that, all else being equal, the quantity supplied of a good increases when its price increases and decreases when its price falls. This principle arises from producers' natural desire for profit. Higher prices make production more attractive. Lower prices discourage it. In our marketplace, almost every vendor illustrates this law. If the price of avocados rises sharply early in the morning because demand is high, farmers may send additional baskets from storage or redirect supplies from smaller markets to take advantage of the high prices. Conversely, if prices fall, vendors may hold back some supply for later, or focus on other goods that are selling at better margins. A critical point students often confuse is the difference between a change in quantity supplied and a change in supply. A change in quantity supplied occurs only because of a change in price. In contrast, a change in supply is caused by factors other than price. In the real world, many such factors constantly influence producers' decisions. These factors reshape the market landscape by changing production costs, opportunities, and efficiencies. Input prices include the cost of labor, raw materials, machinery, energy, and other resources essential for production. When input prices rise, producing the same quantity of goods becomes more expensive. As a result, producers often reduce the quantity they are willing to supply at any given price. Suppose the cost of fertilizer increases significantly. Tomato farmers now face higher costs per kilogram produced. Even if tomato prices remain unchanged, farmers may supply fewer tomatoes, or some may switch to less fertilizer-intensive crops. Conversely, if fertilizer prices drop, or if labor becomes cheaper, farmers can produce more at every price. Producers often make decisions about which goods to produce based on relative profitability. Goods can be substitutes in production or complements in production. Substitutes in production are goods that use similar inputs. For example, a farmer who grows both tomatoes and peppers may shift land and labor toward peppers if pepper prices rise. As a result, tomato supply decreases. Complements in production are goods that are jointly produced. For instance, beef and leather come from the same animal. If demand for leather increases and its price rises, cattle farmers may raise more cows, which inadvertently increases the supply of beef. Thus, the prices of related goods influence how producers allocate their resources. Technological improvements can dramatically increase supply. Better technology means producers can make more output using the same amount of inputs. New machinery, better irrigation, improved methods of storage, or faster production processes allow firms to operate more efficiently. If the tomato farmer installs a modern irrigation system that reduces water usage while boosting yield, supply increases even if prices stay the same. Similarly, factories that adopt automation often experience significant increases in productivity. Technology almost always leads to an increase in the supply because it lowers production cost and improves efficiency. Producers do not only respond to current conditions, they also anticipate future market trends. Expectations about future prices can affect how much they supply today. If a farmer expects that tomato prices will rise next month due to a coming shortage, he might hold back some of today's harvest to sell later at a higher price. This reduces current supply. Conversely, if producers expect prices to fall soon, for example, due to an oversupply, they will try to sell as much as possible now, increasing current supply. Expectations, therefore, influence supply decisions even before prices actually change. The number of firms or producers in a market determines overall market supply. When new producers enter a market, supply increases. When firms exit, due to bankruptcy, high costs, or declining profitability, supply decreases. Imagine a region where many farmers begin growing tomatoes because prices have been high for several months. The market soon becomes flooded with tomatoes, increasing supply significantly. Conversely, if a drought or disease causes several farmers to stop production, the supply decreases because fewer producers contribute to total output. The individual supply represents the relationship between price and quantity supplied for a single producer. Each farmer in the market has their own supply, reflecting their costs, resources, and preferences. Some may be willing to supply large quantities even at low prices. Others may require higher prices to cover their costs. When we add together all individual supplies in a market, we obtain the market supply, the total amount that all producers are willing to supply at each price. Our journey through the marketplace reveals that supply is far more than a simple reaction to price changes. It reflects how producers navigate shifting costs, changing technologies, future expectations, and competitive dynamics. Understanding supply and all the factors that influence it allows us to interpret how markets respond to changes and how prices coordinate the behavior of countless individual producers. The marketplace may look busy and disorderly, but beneath its surface lies a structured, predictable economic logic.